We all love those big motor upgrades, but what's the right one for your application? What's considered overkill? Can getting the wrong one hurt your setup's full potential? We'll find that out here.
Whoa!
I'm actually very thankful enough that these two fine gentlemen I was actually able to borrow. So I do have to thank Jay from RC Boca, so I do appreciate that. We are actually going to be comparing pretty much what you would want to run them in based on their size, voltage rating, and just power capability. Because at the end of the day, all of these motors are absolutely badass in whatever application you choose them for. Just make sure it's the correct one. So if that seems interesting, let's hop right into it. And real quick before I go on, guys, be sure to leave in the comments which of these motors you prefer or you like the most. Quick rundown. We have 800 kV Hobbywing, 800 kV Castle, 1100 kV Castle, that's brand spanking new, the 5687 1100 kV, and then we also have the 1250 kV 4985 CAN, and then this is also another 49 series CAN, but it's otherwise known as the 1717. But in 1650 kV. So we also have the 2200 kV right there, and then we have the 2050 kV that comes in your stock ARMA infraction or the felony. We're going to be starting from these guys and going up. I shall initiate review mode. Let's start. Alright, so starting off, these are going to be our 1/8 scale, 1/7 scale motors. These things can be ran up to 6S LiPo, which is 22 volts. Now, this guy is censored, this guy is not, but this guy's going to have a little bit more torque over this guy because the kV is a little bit lower. But this guy is also censored, so low RPM is also going to be really good. This is not exactly what I'm going to be focusing on. I just purely have both of these fine gentlemen just to scale up to what the other guys we have back here. So we're done with these. Next step up above these motors regarding torque and caliber are actually going to be the 49 series. Now I don't exactly have the Hobbywing one to compare with the other ones, but I do have the next best thing that's really close to it, you know, aside the Castle one. It's going to be the Spectrum 1250 kV. Now you guys can see they are definitely a little bit thicker, as well as taller than your standard 8th scale motors. Now this guy is censored and this guy is not, but here's the fine trade-off. The kV is significantly lower, so you're going to have a lot lower temperatures and a little bit more torque than this guy. I actually ran this motor in the Kraton 8S. Well, it comes in the Kraton 8S, obviously. So I actually ran at least a half an hour, which is like a full battery life at around 45 to 50 miles an hour. And the temperatures were actually pretty legit, you know, they weren't exactly 200 degrees or anything like that. Now the kV is certainly a lot higher, but here's the trade-off. Yeah, it might be censored, low RPM, it won't cog, but the kV being higher is actually going to draw more amps and actually cause a little bit more heat. So I'm actually going to say this guy is going to be better for a larger scale vehicle than the 1650. But the 1650 was still definitely able to hold its own and throw that thing around like a rag doll.
Holy moly.
But regarding how long it'll last, I'm going to have to give it to the Spectrum. Now these guys I will actually call our mid-range kV big block motors. Why? They are actually damn near the same size. They have a lot of torque, so you can still throw a 5th scale around like it's nothing, but you're going to have more RPM per volt. Both of these guys are going to be rated for 8S power. You can run this one on 9S or even 10S under load. Theoretically, you are under 45,000 RPM when you are loaded, so never pick it up and, you know, floor it and run it on 10S or whatever. We are actually comparing both of these guys on 8S. So now you can see, if I could bring the light over here a little bit, you can see there's about an inch difference. Thickness is about the same. They are very much so the same thickness. So definitely this guy's not going to be a slouch. Now what, yeah, even though that this one is censored, what this guy has over this is weight, and also you're going to be able to fit it in a decent amount of other vehicles without having to get an extended mount or whatever. Being that this is 1100 kV, you can run this in a big 1/7 scale or a 6 scale or whatnot. It doesn't have to be a 5th scale, even though that they're both capable of running it in a big, heavy vehicle over 30 pounds. But the whole point of it is, for this guy, you can actually run this in a smaller vehicle without having to worry much about space. So that is actually what this has over the 2028 1100 kV. But then again, this guy is actually going to outperform this regarding torque. It's just a longer, bigger can, you know? So overall, they're both great motors, but I'm going to say regarding a big scale vehicle, the 1100 is actually going to have the leeway over the 5687. Nonetheless, both are amazing motors. All right, guys, now both of these fine gentlemen are actually the king of the motors. So pretty much the 800 kVs in general, they have a godlike amount of torque. But here's the thing, the market of all ESCs, 90% of them are going to be at a maximum of 8S voltage rated. So pretty much we are not going to be comparing both of these guys on 12S. We're still going to be doing these guys on 8S because that's all that I'm personally going to run. So that means all these, well, with the exception of these guys, these two motors on each side, we're still going to be running them on 8S. So I'm actually comparing all of these guys on 8S. I'm actually going to have to say, regarding its torque, yeah, you're going to have a lot more torque and cooler run times. But here's the thing, if you want to get anywhere near the speed of this 1100 kV or even this one, you're pretty much going to have to gear to the moon. Now, when you gear to the moon, that's going to cause more amp draw, and that's actually going to hinder your batteries. It's actually going to stress your batteries out a little bit. The more speed that you want, there is a trade-off. Regardless that the kV is low, there's always going to be an even trade-off regarding power to efficiency. So for example, this is your pinion gear, this is your spur gear. In normal occasions, this guy's going to be bigger than this, and that's pretty much what you want for a bash setup. You never want to go, you know, bigger, direct drive to overdrive, you know, where this is what's on the motor and this is actually what is on your spool or drive shaft or center diff, whatever. You know, if you're running overdrive gears, you're actually going to be asking so much from your batteries, you're going to stress them out. And yeah, you might still run kind of cool, but here's the thing. You won't really have as much runtime as you think. Now, believe it or not, the 1100 kVs, you don't have to gear overdrive to get anywhere, you know? Because of course you don't want to do 40 miles an hour. People today, they want to do 50, 60, 70, you know, in a 1/5 scale.
Damn.
You know, pretty much the average speed of those big vehicles are significantly going up as technology gets better. So really, you want to actually have a better trade-off, a better balance regarding a motor. So until you run these guys on 10S or 12S, you're not really going to see their full potential. You're only going to see the same exact potential of what these 1100 kVs are even going to give out because of the trade-off that you're going to get regarding the whole gearing and battery life. You could actually gear in gear reduction in regards of these guys being in direct drive or overdrive, which is actually speedrun gearing for smaller vehicles. Pretty much, you're going to have an even trade-off. You're going to have more torque with these, believe it or not, if you're in gear reduction, than these guys will be in overdrive if you're running the same voltage. That is where my point stands. Now, if you get into a 40-pound vehicle, then you're going to actually have to run these guys on 10S, 12S, and then again, the market for those ESCs are significantly lower than what you would be running with an 8S ESC. Now, you can run $1,000 easily if you get an MGM that's rated for 10S, 12S, 14, 16, whatever. You know, you don't need to go anything higher than 12S, in my honest opinion. With those guys running 16S, with how much weight you're putting in the vehicle, it's unfeasible. As I stated, you have to find a solid balance between all the motors and applications that you're going to be running. So guys, in conclusion, if you do own a 12S or 10 or higher voltage than 8S ESC, absolutely get these guys. There's no reason to not do so. But if you're running 8S, I would honestly stay away from these guys and go with the 1100 kVs. You know, regardless if it's the 5687 or the 2028. That's what it's going to come down to. You need to know what setup you're going to be running. And if you guys have any questions, be sure to follow me at InnovationRC on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to actually discuss this with you further if you have any more questions. I do not mind whatsoever. Guys, if you like this review, be sure to subscribe for more. We're gonna still be doing this stuff. I love these ultimate reviews, and you know, I just love doing the size comparison and whatnot. Pretty much, I really had an awesome time, and I really hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned, subscribe, and have a good one.